Hey everyone, Shawn Clement here at the Richmond Hill Golf Learning Center. It's really blustery windy out there, so we're going to have a nice peaceful setting right here to help you guys and gals with how we need to see things, to be able to predict them properly, to be able to get the right movements out of your swing. My host out in our California sessions, Brian, who's been making some amazing improvements with his game and is really turning the corner, we finally put the dotted the I's and crossed the T's on how he needs to look down here and what he needs to see as an action for the whole ball of wax to come together. And we've talked about how, through the forum and everything else, how, some like to, look at a spot in front of the ball, some like to look at a spot beside the ball. And I've come to grow with me looking at the space between the sole of the club and the ball on that space of grass. So I leave my club a little bit further away from the ball, let's say a half inch. But I'm not trying to hit that spot of grass. This is the key. Many of you say, well, when I put my eyes on the grass behind the ball, I tend to hit that spot. Well, yeah, if you're making that your target, that will definitely be the case. However, what I see is an action. I see the act of the sole of the club cutting through the dandelion stem, okay? So I got my trusty grass whip here. I'm going to put this ball on a tee to help you out. And what I see is the blade, the sole of this blade, ready to cut through the tee. So if my eyes are on the grass, because I can't see the tee physically, but I can see it mentally, especially when I see that the leading edge of this grass whip is ready to cut through that stem. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice little cut. So notice how I cut through the tee and the ball stays exactly in the same spot. And you could hear it, right? You could hear that nice cut through that rubber tee. So if I take my grass whip, which is my 7-iron, and I'll do exactly the same thing here. I'll even hover the club slightly in the air so I can see that the sole of the club is in a great position to cut that dandelion stem. My eyes are on the grass between the blade and the ball, and I can see that the blade is in a perfect position to cut the very top of it, which means the ball's going to strike the center of the club face if I cut through it. So I am seeing the action of the cut through there, and I am feeling how I'm going to allow this to happen. So here we go. So the thing about the feeling of it, we're going to look at, so I'm going to lower that because I kind of sculled that one. So I'm going to lower that a little bit more, and I'm going to feel a little bit more the sole of the club to the tee. Right there. So the feel that we're looking for in cutting through, we don't want to feel that we're trying to shove through and that the arms and the body are in possession of the control of this thing. I want to cut through with that ball and a string, right? So if you look at the ball and a string video, I'll get my trusty ball and a string right here. So if I take my ball and a string, and I'll go ahead and give that to gravity, and then I'm going to lower myself and feel like the ball's going to be touching the grass. There we go. And I'm going to bring that over. I can see that the blur there. So notice how the ball and the string is cutting through that rubber tee nicely. So remember that the club head is the ball, the string is a shaft in the arms, and that is swinging. So if I had only one arm, that the center of that swing would be my right shoulder socket. So if I swing the club and the arms away from that shoulder socket, well, you'll notice how everything gets pulled upwards naturally. So if I was going to take this to the tee, I'm just going to see where gravity wants to put this thing, and there I am, I'm cutting through that tee. Put both arms together to take my grip. Now that sternal notch where the two clavicles join the rib cage, that represents the center of my swing. So I'm just going to go ahead and let gravity track that. Notice how it's cutting through that dandelion stem consistently. Beautiful. So, my eyes are on the grass between the sole of the club and the ball. I'm feeling how the sole of the club is going to, shave through that dandelion stem, and I'm going to feel how it wants to drag along the ground a little bit in front of the ball. So, we allow the ball and the string to twirl around that sternal notch right through the dandelion stem. So what happens when my brain sees the cut through the stem this way along the surface of the ground? So you can see, if we put that in slow motion, you'll notice cutting through, cutting through, cutting through. Yes, I feel like I'm cutting along the surface of the ground, whereas if I default to the ball, well, now the planet's in my way. So now there's no way I can get past that. If I do, I'm going to have to do a lot of fancy, swinging and manipulating to get past that. But from here, I can see that stem, and I can feel the twirl around my sternal notch through the cut along the ground and out toward that keep out sign. It's twirling. It's twirling right above the keep out sign, exactly what I predicted. So there's the sight of that action, then there's the feel and the prediction of that action through there. So some of you will prefer keeping your eyes in front of the ball. I don't want to stop you from doing that if that's working, okay? So your eyes are on the front, on the grass here, and I feel like the sole of the club is going to drag along the dirt through that spot, along the ground, not into the ground. This feels like it's going to gouge the ground. That feels like it's going to drag along the surface of the ground. There it is. So either one is fine as long as you see the act of the sole of the club dragging along the surface of the ground. Okay? So see that properly. Feel that nice cut all the way through there towards something specific. So that something specific, of course, you would have picked an intermediate point standing from back here, no more than a foot in front of the ball. So you say, okay, the O of keep out is on the left edge of that. Yep, I'm left edge, play the ball a bit back. I'm going to release over the straight over it, so I'm going to draw it from the right of the O back to the O of keep out. So when I swing in that direction, feels like the sole of the club is going to cut the dandelion stem. Got it. What's the feel? Oh, yeah, that nice twirl through the cut. Man, that feels so good. And I'm sure that as I'm demonstrating this to you, it's coming across in flying colors, and you can actually see that that is my intent. You can always read body language. When you see somebody on the range, you see the body language that they have. You can always read what's going on mentally. If they're trying to hit the ball, they'll start here and they'll do this in the backswing. They're going after a golf ball. If you see this in the follow-through, they're trying to lift the ball, and they don't understand how this tool works. It's not, they don't understand it's designed to cut grass along the ground, which is this body language, and they're trying to lift the ball into the air with the face of the club, which, the big ball's in the way of that particular task right there, so it's going to be counterproductive. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you in the next video where I have some more along those lines, which is what Ray is going to appreciate. Talk to you soon.